Communication by Christina Eubanks, Management 1105, Chapter 8. Interpersonal communication. Communication evokes a common meaning in another person. Interpersonal communication occurs between two or more people in an organization. Recent advances in information technology and data management cannot replace interpersonal communication. The key elements of interpersonal communication. The communicator is the person sending the message. The receiver is the person accepting the message. Perceptual screens are the windows through which we interact. The message contains the thoughts and feelings that the communicator intends to evoke in the receiver. The message has two primary components. First, the thought. This is contained in words, ideas, symbols, and concepts chosen to relay the message. Second, the feeling. This is contained in the intensity, demeanor, and gestures of the communicator. Reflective listening is the skill of carefully listening to a message and immediately repeating it back to the speaker. It can be characterized as personal, feeling-oriented, and responsive. Reflective listening has 4 levels of verbal response. Affirming contact. This is the purpose of the affirmation response, which is to communicate attentiveness, not necessarily agreement. Next, paraphrasing, which is expressed through thoughts and feelings. This is useful because it tells the speaker what the receiver heard and what the receiver's thoughts and feelings are about what he heard. Next, clarifying implicit thoughts and feelings. These are not clearly or fully expressed thoughts and feelings. And last, reflecting core feelings, not fully expressed. The receiver should look beyond the implicit message and understand the speaker's core feelings, which are the speaker's deepest and most important feelings. Communication skills for effective managers. Employee communication identifies 5 communication skills that distinguish good supervisors from bad ones. A good supervisor is an expressive speaker. They express their thoughts, ideas, and feelings openly and are not afraid to voice their opinions. They are an empathetic listener. They are approachable and willing to listen to suggestions and complaints. They are also a persuasive leader. They use their persuasive language to influence others. They are not deceitful. They are a sensitive person and an informative manager, meaning they keep their employees well informed, appropriately filtering out information. Some supervisors are effective without possessing all these skills. Barriers and gateways to communication. Barriers to communication are factors that distort, disrupt, or even halt successful communications. Gateways to communication are the openings that break down communication barriers. Continued. The following are barriers that are not obvious: gender differences, cultural diversity, and language. Communication barriers can be attributed in part to differences in controversial styles. Women often prefer to converse face-to-face, while men are comfortable conversing side-by-side. An important gateway through the gender barrier is the development of an awareness and appreciation of gender-specific differences in conversational style. Culturally influenced values and patterns of behavior can be very confusing barriers to communication. Significant difference in work-related values exist among people in the U.S. versus other countries. For example, the German culture places greater value on authority and order of ranking than the U.S. does. Language can also be another barrier to communication. Growing numbers of business men and women are bilingual and multilingual, but even subtle distinctions in dialects within the same language can be barriers. Civility and incivility. Incivility can create a barrier between people and jar people's emotions. Civility may be a gateway to communication that smooths troubled waters at work. Those who practice incivility are often called bullies, creeps, backstabbers, and even worse. Civil communication and behavior carry the potential to avoid hurting feelings, preventing harm and damage to working relationships, and contribute to well-being at the workplace. Continued. In the workplace, defensive language creates barriers between people, whereas non-defensive communication helps to open and deepen relationships. Defensive communication includes aggressive messages as well as passive withdrawal messages. Non-defensive communication is assertive, direct, and powerful. In many cases, defensive tactics raise ethical dilemmas for victims and their supervisors. Have you ever asked yourself, at what point does simple defensiveness become unethical behavior? Consider the following defensive tactics: power plays, labeling, disseminating misleading information, and hostile jokes. Nonverbal communications includes all elements of communication that do not involve words or language, such as gestures and the use of space. There are 4 basic types of nonverbal communication that managers need to understand: proxemics, kinesics, facial and eye behavior, and paralanguage. James Lynch labeled communicative disease as the absence of heartfelt communication in relationships leads to loneliness and social isolation. Healthy communication is at the core of personal integrity and managerial success, which is positive, healthy communication. Communicating through new technologies and social media. Nonverbal behaviors can be important in establishing trust and working relationships, but modern technologies may challenge our ability to maintain that trust. Many organizations are working towards having paperless offices, but that is far from happening. In fact, there are many types of communication still necessary to business, such as manuals, reports, which these are the 2 longest, letters, memos, forms, which is the shortest. Computer-mediated communication influences virtually all behavior in the work environment. The following are technologies used for communication: email, voicemail, instant messaging, fax machines, and the newest would be smartphones. My credits go to the Organizational Behavior textbook.